Welcome along, boys and girls, it's Nightstalker here. Today we're doing some White Elk Fort Siege. Bringing with us today the two primary units are going to be Tercios and Fortebraccios. Fortebraccios, of course, being completely dominant at the moment, so we do love them. Don't know though, very soon I'd say that these fire units, which are focusing a lot of energy and destruction into a small area, they may have a bit of effect on the meta. Right now we're just going to start off on the cannon. Not a big fan of the cannons, very inaccurate of course, and you can never quite judge whether your last shot was a miss or whether it was the accuracy of the cannon itself. We're going to give it a go. These cannons up here need to die. While doing this, I'm just keeping in mind that behind that siege tower currently there is a intact ballista, and of course you don't stand in front of ballistas and survive, so we're going to have to keep an eye on that at the corner of our eye. Switching down to the mini-map, what can we see? Not much at the moment. Our team are well spread out. We're attacking across the broader front, which is what we should be doing. White Elk, of course, you'll usually get your siege towers in first time, so it's not going to be an issue. In the meantime, we're waiting for that to happen. Being a melee hero, we don't have a lot to do, so we're going to contribute to the team by knocking down this wall here, giving us another point of access. The moment our team is scouted, we've got a boy on the wall. He's told us that there are at least 5 of the heroes there that we can see at this point, so we're not too worried. As you can see, we're just keeping an eye out there for that ballista. Being a longsword player maxed out on health, I do have 31,000 hit points, so we can actually take a ballista to the head and survive. Not many players can say that. A little bit of concern up there. I don't know if you notice on the right hand side down in the mini-map there, it looks as though perhaps someone's sallied out from the castle, and we do need to keep an eye on that. If we're attacked on the cannons when we're not paying attention, we will pay the price. So we're going to flick up the mini-map, just change it to the local area. In the meantime, of course, we're just going to keep putting shots towards this wall. Best thing we can do for our team at the moment, other than scouting up the walls or potentially trying to raid up the ladders, it never seems to work out for me that well in the initial push. It's more of a dual blade sort of thing. Getting more nervous about that ballista off to the left. Of course, being a little careful here not to shoot our own siege tower. You can see our Metallaluri running up the siege tower and just basically attacking the enemy. We're giving them something to think about. We're not going to call them back because, as you can see, they're providing cover for our 2 heroes that went up behind them. It gives them a good chance to either bring their units up or to really take assessment of the situation and decide what they're going to do. The loss of Metallaluri is really not a big deal. And hey, you're going to get some score at the end of the match for taking damage anyway. Right, we're done with the cannon now. We thought we were done earlier, of course, you may have noticed there, but we didn't realise that that last shot was necessary. Rolling up now, we're going to pull out a unit. What are we looking like at the moment? At this stage I like to bring out the Rattan Pikemen, not a unit you see a lot of on the battlefield, and I don't know why. They'll devastate any peasant unit quite happily, especially as you know, their bleed tick damage and things like that. Now, spoiler alert, we're actually not going to do super well with the Rattan Pikemen. Up the ladder they go. At the moment all we can see is 3, 4, 5, 6 heroes now, and we know where most of them are. At this point I see some pikemen. We think, oh, we can do that, we're elite, right? What are the chances of these guys being elite as well? Not super high, and just as we launch our attack to knock down that pike formation and come on in, unfortunately we see another pike. And that of course is going to spell pretty much the end for my Rattan pikemen. At this point I'm slowly realising that they're never getting through. 2 heroes and 2 units of peasant pikes is not going to help. Off we go. We might just save these guys, and they're actually going to do a couple of casualties later, so it wasn't a complete waste. You don't throw your units away from that point. Unfortunately there, the Fortebraccio pikemen missed a golden opportunity to just come in and wipe out those top units. Now no one's expecting them to push down the stairs. We all know that pikes fight upstairs, they do not fight downstairs. It's a recipe for disaster. However, they could have quite happily there come in and scored 8 or 10 kills, which would have certainly helped. Anyway, at this point, the pikes push up and we think, well, let's smash this pike formation. Those Fortebraccios are coming in behind. If we knock these boys down, the Fortebraccios should be able to finish a whole bunch of them. But the Fortebraccio player completely fails to follow up on the opening that the shields have provided, and by knocking down the pikes. That's alright, we can't rely on our friends all the time. And we're just getting smacked around a little bit here. It's not usually a disaster when you have this many hit points as a longsword to get kidnapped by the maul. Unfortunately, when we go to exit, we get stuck on a dead body. I don't know why that happened, but as a consequence, we're pretty darn dead. So if you take your attention down to the mini-map again, where you should be focused most of the time, I've actually failed to bring up the local area map, which would have told me more about, when I brought those rattan pikemen in, I would have seen immediately that there were more people available in the area. So that was my error. We're not going to make that mistake again. Well, mostly because we're dead. Let's have a quick flick around our friends and find out what's going on. As you can see, our pikemen there got a couple of spare kills. Nothing to write home about. Then we're going to bring out my favourite unit at the moment, the Fortebraccia pikemen. Obviously extremely dominant, especially when elited. Don't forget to put a doctrine on there that does give them a little bit of a stun as well. That certainly boosts their ability. You see, I noticed that, we hadn't knocked down the gate and the battering ram had been ignored by our entire team. I don't know how that happened. I thought, maybe we'll push that in. But of course, action and convenience, which the Falconetti gunners and the pikemen have, the Fortebraccia pikemen, which means they can't do anything, really. They can't push siege engines, they can't climb ladders, they can just murder stuff. And that's okay. We're going to jump in here, we're going to help our friends out by knocking down a hero and a few of their pikes sort of to break up the formation. As you can see, the Fortebraccia is coming down the hill, just completely ineffective. All that damage was the Conquerors doing what they should be doing. So we're not going to just push down blindly. We notice that there's a lot of casualty causing DPM ranged units really. And we're just going to take a bit of a scope out, see if we can hit any of those, but we don't really seem to have the angle. So onwards, the Conquerors, they can't fight there nearby themselves, and we're going to come on down. Now what you'll notice if you refer to the mini-map is that we actually have quite a decent push going on here. But we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of our team that have completely failed to join us. Now had they joined us at this point, we would be doing very well. But we're just going to have to survive now. We can't get away. The second you turn your back with these pikemen, you're going to take all of that extra critical damage, and you can't have that happen. But we do manage to notice a cavalry coming in, and that was quite messy for them. Unfortunately, this maul is going to have his way with us. Something to notice with the pikemen is that most people don't realise is that the speed of your hit into the pike block dictates how much damage you take. That's why when they usually do only a few hundred damage, you'll notice the cavalry pretty much die instantly because their speed is quite high, and that's why their hero died there. Well, we managed to roll out of the way of the cavalry charge, but we're here alone against about 400 people, so that was never going to end well. We couldn't even escape with that door closed. So it is what it is. And you can see here how many people just stood there and watched that happen. That could have had a critical effect on our game. When you lose a couple of good units there, like the pikes and the Fortebraccia and the Conquerors, really that can have an ongoing effect on your game, because really you're only going to have maybe 2 decent units that you prefer. And you should be using each of those for a point push. Just can't believe these guys. Just standing around and watched the push fail. That was incredibly bad teamwork by them. But that's the life. We get all values of players and all sorts of ability levels. Maybe they had the wrong units. I can't tell from the mini-map whether they've just got archers. That's also something that you have to watch. You can't have a whole team full of archers, so you do have to monitor when you pull your units out how many are actually available at the time. Now we do decide we're going to push that in, even though they're tercios, because there's no longer anything on the walls. We do dominate those, but we did notice there. Can you see the guy on the mini-map? He's pulling out, and I'm afraid he's got cavalry. So we're going to come and hide here behind this rock as a bit of a barrier. These Falconetti gunners, I'm not quite sure what they're up to. Well, it depends which region you're playing in, of course, whether they're Fortebraccios or whether they're Falconettis or not. So now it's just a waiting game. You can see our guys are about to finally summon up the courage to make a bit of a push, which is really good, because this is a good opportunity with one of their players outside the walls somewhere, one of them back clearly by the point. You've got that information, you might as well use it. So we're just now waiting for our teammate to push up this battering ram. Those Iron Reapers are going to be very useful in this push. So are the Squires, of course. But I'm really not sure if these gunners are very effective. They've done some damage to the battering ram, which was just a bit of an accident really. But they don't really do a lot of damage to the walls, to the doors here. Really, they should have just saved their ammunition pushed in with us. Using their ammunition like this is just going to make them ineffective in the push. Had they come in behind all of the heavy infantry, they could shoot at point blank range and cause a major amount of damage. Now our team have managed to get on the point, so it's quite opportune now that we've managed to get this door down. We're going to push in. Going to do the longsword thing of let's stand on the point and see what they can do about it. We're not having these guys standing around. I'm not going to wait for that short sword to knock me over. I'm going to knock him over first. In comes the charge from the friendly units, and they're going to get counter pushed by the Imperial pikes, which is quite normal. We have a lot of DPM sort of smashing down, DPS smashing down on the point here, so we're actually going to take it. Ooh, free kill there somewhere along the line. Thank you to our Kabuziers. Going to bring them forward. The old TCOs, you've really got to bring them forward as much as you can. They do their good damage at the close range. We're going to help here. We've got some, of course, Reapers, which are pretty nasty. Fortunately, our Glaive and our Maul, they also noticed the predicament of the Reapers, and they had to die. So that was good teamwork there by those guys coming in to help. Now, at this point, our pikes, did you see our pikes were sitting behind our gunners? Now, that was never going to work for anyone, so that gave me the willies a bit, and I've had to pull back. The last thing we want, this is our last unit of course, due to a couple of errors there on our behalf from earlier, so now we're going to come forward and use them. Oh, no, we're not going to let that guy stab our friend in the back, so let's just go and smack him in the ground and beat him senseless, and get a free kill of the dual blades there who wasn't looking. Thought he was immortal amongst an entire team, he was never going to live. And you can see I'm a bit nervous about those side streets, even though we are taking the point over the back. There's really no reason that we couldn't have at least some of the heroes and units lurking. We didn't actually see too many on the point, and some ran and some didn't. I didn't really see where they went, so you've got to be careful. You'll see me here as well. When I bring my units over, like especially vulnerable units, DPS units, you've got to be aware of who's around these corners and what you're doing with them. Something I didn't notice at the time is that I could have used my longsword ability to give myself a bit of a heal. Not really relevant at this point, but it's not going to make any difference. So we're just being careful here. Again, checking the corner. And we're going to follow the spear sergeants in. Now we've already noticed that Mr. Maul knows what he's doing. He knows when to get stuck in and when to hold back. So he's going to be valuable as a teammate to us later. Now we didn't want to get charged in the back. We turn around and see friendly cavalry. Great, no, it's coming through there. We're not going to, using the longsword ult, we're not going to allow these guys to, what are they, peasants? We're not even going to allow peasants to charge into our guys. It's not good for anyone's health. You can see that more. I was hoping to bring up my gunners there and press the V key to basically stall him at point blank range, but he got the message pretty quick. We're going to stay behind these spear sergeants. Oh, that cavalry charge was just weak. Oh, that was just a waste of good cavalry. It is what it is though. You can see that our pikes in there pushing them back. We're not going to immediately run from this, because if we run too early, they'll realise that we're all pulling back and they won't take the full force. Again, moving the gunners up, they want to be as close as possible to do maximum DPS. Now these Imperial pikes think they're going to have a great time. Unfortunately for them, we've got heaps of DPS on this point. And again, this Maul player with his spear sergeants is just doing such a good job. Until, well, tower shields. Fortunately, being a longsword, one of our special abilities is the ability to take down these pipe walls. We're just going to be a little bit careful, we don't want to get grabbed by the Maul. And when we see the opportunity here it comes, we're going to smash down their entire front line. Excellent play of the ultimate there from the longsword. And it just devastates the entire line. We have so much DPS lined up against it to oppose it, that as soon as those shields come down, even the 9 or 10,000 hit points of those tower shields is really not going to save them. As you can see, we're doing our best to keep these spear sergeants alive, but we're starting to run out of ammo here. Note that we went around the pikes and attacked them in the side. Just good sense not to fight a pike front on. Now, our team's doing quite a good job here of bringing these trebs in. You can see that they're doing a bit of damage. Now, at this point, I'm thinking, we've got no ammo. Is this going to go on more than the next minute? It's quite likely to. I don't think we can push them clearly off the point, so I'm going to bring these guys back. And I'm thinking ahead of time here. I'm thinking all I want to get is some ammunition, and to get back on the point as quickly as possible. So we're not going to stop to heal them. So on the way past, we'll give them a little bit of health, back on our horse and get back in the action. The moment we see that we've got full ammunition, we're going to bring them back again, because we've got some good momentum going here and we're just absolutely tuning the enemy team. Now, I'm not quite sure what those arquebusiers at the back think they're doing. Arquebusiers need to be close. There's a reason they've got armor, there's a reason they've got hit points. If you're going to use them effectively, they've got to be up close and personal. They're not like your crossbows and they're not like your archers. A little bit of health for our friend there, we don't want him dying. And unfortunately, I thought to myself there, we're going to have to stop this charge. We don't want them hitting our friends at full force. We did manage to do that, but we took an absolute bucket load of damage in the process. Now it's pretty good actually that it hit on me. Again, that 31,000 hit points and heavy armor has done its job. But there's really no other type of character that can survive that sort of damage. It's got to be Longsword. And that's where you really thrive. We kept them off our team, and that's the main thing. Now these pike shields at the front, they're not going to last very long on their own, so we're going to have to give them a hand. We're not going to allow anyone to try and take them down free of charge. And that was a great move by that shield player, to move them up and just keep them off. There's nothing we can do, the archer gives it a go, but at the end of the day he doesn't survive long. The cavalry hit them from the back. Victory to us. Not too bad a game. Now we've got 116 kills with a Tercio Arquebusio. That's just a ridiculous amount. I don't think we've ever got that many before.
No surrender.
Bit of a thing, bit of a fail with Fortebrachios, and a bit of a failure with the Rattans. And we of course sacrificed the Metallurori to the Dark Gods just at the start there for no real good reason. But the Arquebusios came through for us and we played really well. We stayed on the points, we pushed them when they needed to. And that's really key with the Longsword. Your place is on those points. Get the shield up, block the damage. Hey guys, Knight here. Thanks for watching my videos. I make these in my spare time for a bit of fun, so hopefully you learned something or you just enjoyed watching. It would really help me out if you would subscribe and like my videos. See you on the battlefield.